This is an image that fills most people with dread. Bikies. But to hear them tell it, there's nothing to fear.
This is our sport. People like fishing, football, this is our sport, and that's all it is, mate.
Tonight on Gangs of Oz, the inner workings of Australia's bikie gangs. The sex, the drugs, the violence, and the multi-million-dollar businesses they run. Within a culture that has a disturbing lack of regard for human life.
They hide behind this facade of adventurous young men. Behind that is quite a strong criminal element.
We show extraordinary footage of major drug busts.
You are under arrest, I want you to understand that. You understand that, don't you?
And for the first time, an ex-gang member tells his tragic story.
Well, I was the first person shot, first bang that went off the day.
This is a story where no one was safe, not even the cops.
They don't care, you know, about human life. It's just evil. They're evil people.
There are 3,500 members in the 36 bikie gangs across Australia. They're organised and they are impossible to ignore. One of the most prominent bikie groups is the Rebels. Their president is Alex Vella, a man of few words.
It's about 400 of us here. We're going to meet another probably 300 up in Queensland and party with them.
Bikie groups see themselves as outlaws, a band of brothers, bound together by the colours on their backs.
But now you've got these crazy people that are just out there overtly committing violent crime.
We stopped here for the night to have a good time with our brothers. But there'll be nothing but harassment by the law.
The Rebels are the largest criminal group we have in this country. And whether Mr. Vella knows it or not, he has been infiltrated by large numbers of criminals who are rebels.
The Rebels' annual ride may in itself be innocent, but according to police, right across Australia, bikie gangs like the Rebels control the manufacture and distribution of the drugs speed and ice. Where they go, violence follows.
Two rival bikie gangs turned on each other in a full-scale riot.
Melbourne's city centre was brought to a halt by gunfire. 3 people had been shot.
The dead man was Rodney Monk, president of the Bandidos City chapter.
Police won't confirm the identity of the 2 victims.
Gunfire erupted. The rebels were sprayed with dozens of bullets.
Bikie gangs these days are big business, and the biggest and most powerful are the Rebels. The Nomads, the Bandidos, and the Hells Angels. They have branches in every state, all of them part of an international franchise. All of them involved in more than just thumping up the highway on a Harley.
The Rebels has a footprint in every state in the country. I think, as an example, in New South Wales, it has more than 500 members, which is about a quarter of all known OMCG membership in this state.
If anyone believes the fact that these bikie groups are not criminal groups, you know, they're just coming from a position of ignorance, total, utter ignorance. Traditionally, you know, you have had instances with the bikie groups where they've resorted to horrible acts of violence.
Australia's most publicised outbreak of violence occurred on Father's Day 1984, when the Comancheros and the Bandidos met head-on in a Sydney hotel car park. John Garvey was with the New South Wales Police Armed Hold-Up Squad at the time and took the call that day.
We got a call over the police radio that there was an armed robbery in progress at Viking Tavern Hotel at Milperra.
Also there that day were 5 of the 6 Campbell brothers, Bandidos to the death. Jeff, the one they call Snake Eyes, lived through it and now, for the first time, speaks publicly about the day that changed his life forever.
Well, I was the first person shot, first bang that went off the day.
In the months leading up to Milperra, the Comancheros and the Bandidos had held a number of peace talks. They ended in the Comancheros' leader, Jock Ross, declaring war.
And the guy that was pointing the gun at me was a commo. And I asked him to use these, fight with the fist, you know what I mean? And he went, no. Blasted me, hit me stomach, jacket blew back, blood come out. Like at the time, I didn't give a shit about the fucking shot, you know what I mean? I just wanted to get him. On the commos that was close to the family, stuck the shotty in my head while I was lying there. I said, do it, mate. He winked at me and said, not today, Snake.
Out the back of the hotel, John Garvey was trying to make sense of it all. It was then he faced his own life or death situation.
We actually walked out into the back of the car park. It was at that point that we confronted Ray Kukla, Sunshine as he's known, Comanchero. Ray had obviously suffered a pretty severe wound to the face. He was armed at that stage with a 12-gauge shotgun.
What followed next was a standoff, with neither man prepared to lay down their weapons, and John Garvey with a distinct disadvantage. He had nowhere to run, and with his shotgun by his side, only his negotiating skills could save his life.
Kukla basically said, you're not coming in here with that fucking thing. But once I explained to him that we just wanted to get help, that we couldn't get the ambulance officers in to treat the people until we disarmed everybody, he calmed down very quickly. He then agreed that if I'd put my weapon down, that he'd put his down. I then took that weapon, put it with my shotgun, and then I said to him, are any of the others still armed? He went in and he was able to get the weapons off the others.
The Milperra massacre stunned the nation, and for the first time, Australians had an appreciation of how dangerous the bikie gang culture really was. It was the war between the Bandidos and the Comancheros that left 7 dead. Such indiscriminate killing left no doubt as to what these gangs were capable of, and the number of members was alarming.
The number of people there, I mean, within the hundreds. I mean, we're not talking a small number. There were literally hundreds of people there. The car park was full.
This shot sums up the tragic reality of that day. Jeff Campbell survived. 2 of his brothers didn't.
Lying there on the footpath, like virtually in the gutter where I was thrown, fucking seen Shadow. He was in the driveway, and Shadow was shot in the neck, and I looked at him and I thought, fuck, he's going to die. That's my older brother. And said, I can't breathe. I was lifted into the back of the ambulance. When I got into the ambulance, saw my young brother, fucking half his shoulder blown away and his arm just hanging on by a bit of meat. I went, fuck this, you know, what's fucking happening here?
Tragically, a teenage bystander, Leanne Walters, was also killed.
Our greatest concern is the involvement of innocent people in these issues here. Because the acts are so brazen and violent, there's always that chance that innocent people are going to be killed.
I think probably, like myself, a lot of other people just really didn't understand the enormity of what had taken place there at that time. And we were, as I said, trying to clear people out of the bar. The bar was still trading, despite the fact, as we know now, there were some 7 people dead and 28 seriously wounded.
When we come back, an unprecedented haul of drugs and ammunition. The innocent victims who can never forget.
And there were police cars and it was chaotic, people all out in the street.
And inside the culture of sex, drugs and violence.